Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brother Ricky, for the prayer. Okay, the topic that we're going to study about is peace, just like my t-shirt here. I hope you guys are impressed with this because I spent quite a lot of time to find this t-shirt from my closet. So, okay, let's just dive right into the lesson. So, why are we going to learn about peace? The word peace is mentioned around 329 times in the Bible. 329 times. Why is it mentioned so many times? What can we know that, when the word is mentioned so many times? For example, what your mother will always ask you to do? Do the housework, do the housework, do the housework. Keep on mentioning you. Why? Because doing the housework is important, right? What your teacher tells you, do your homework, study, study, study. Keep on mentions it. Why she tells that? Because studying is important. Just like that, this word has been mentioned so many times. That means it is very important, and we should be learning about this topic. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to study on this and discover why is it so important. Why is this particular word peace so important? Okay, before going on peace, let's start with the meaning of peace, the definition of peace. Peace means our mood, right? What happens in our lives affects our mood, and our mood affects our peace. This is completely wrong. Peace isn't materialistic. I'll say that again. Peace isn't materialistic. It's not on the outside. It's on the inside. So what on the outside, whatever happens, it doesn't. If we don't want it to affect it, it won't affect us inside, because peace is inside of us. Okay. So let's go into how. Stop minimizing. Okay, as I was saying, peace is not materialistic, so we cannot buy peace. We cannot think like we cannot think like example, if I buy this thing, if I buy these shoes, I'll get happy, and that gives me peace. Or if I pass this exam, I'll be happy, I'll get peace. Peace doesn't work like that. It's not on the outside. Okay, it is a gift from God. And let's go into the biblical concept of peace. So peace in Old Testament is shalom, which is in Hebrew, and in New Testament is erene. I think I said it right. Erene. Okay. There's a church member in our church, Auntie Irene, right? Her names come from this word, erene. Okay. So, okay. So the word shalom, what is the meaning of shalom? Shalom, we have all heard it before. It's a greeting. It's a way of saying hello. Basically, it means peace be with you. Okay, this is what we know. But what is the real meaning of shalom? It basically means wholeness or completeness. Wholeness or completeness without lacking anything. It also refers to a stone wall without lacking anything, without missing any bricks. Just like this stone wall, right? This stone wall is complete with all the bricks and no holes, no gaps. So shalom also refers to this. We can see that in Job chapter 5 verse 24. and you shall know that your tabernacle shall be in peace when you shall visit your habitation, and shall not sin. Basically, what refers here is Job is telling that his tabernacle, his tent, is in peace when he finds when he counts his flocks, and all his flocks is no animals are missing there. So everything is there, and it's not missing everything. And what word he uses is in peace. In the Hebrew, it says shalom. Okay. In Joshua 8:31, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the sons of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones on which no man had wielded an iron tool. And they offered burnt offerings on it to the Lord and sacrificed peace offerings. I want you guys to see on the important part here, an altar of uncut stones. In the original version, it was shalom stones. Okay, so the word shalom also means uncut. What does it mean, uncut stone? That means a stone that is a perfect, so a shape, in a perfect shape, a whole stone with no cracks at all, uncut. So shalom also means this, and shalom also means a stone wall which has no gaps. Basically, something that is complete, something that is whole. So such in applicable in real life, shalom refers to something that is complex, and does not lack anything. It is a state of completeness. So what can we get from that? Life is complex, full of moving things, full of relationships, situations, whatever, many things. When something is not in alignment, when something is missing, just like this wall here, when one of the block is missing, your shalom breaks. Your shaloms break down. Life is no longer in peace. Life is no longer whole. Okay? But because there's something missing, right? Therefore, there's no shalom, there's no wholeness, there's no completeness, and it needs to be restored. Let me say that again. Our peace, it can be restored. And how can we achieve that? How can we restore our peace? This in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 to 7. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and to the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. So what is the question I ask? How can our peace be restored? And the answer is Jesus. Why? Because Jesus is the Prince of Peace. And what it says here, and of peace there will be no end. There will be no end to peace. We will have everlasting peace when the reignty of Jesus. This is why the birth of Jesus in the New Testament, it is referred as the word irene. The birth of Jesus is announced as the arrival of irene, because he is the Prince of Peace. Okay. So, but how Jesus of peace to us? How can Jesus help us with peace? In John chapter 14, verse 27, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled. Jesus directly speaks to us, telling that I will give you peace. He offers us that. It's something that he offers. Okay, but how can we help? How can he help us with that? How can he give us peace? Romans chapter 5, verse 1, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. What we have? Peace with God. And how? From Jesus, through Jesus. So what Jesus did, he prepared a path for us with God, a path for restoration of peace. And that is how our peace with God be restored. Okay? When something need to be restored, as I said earlier, when something is missing, then only it can be restored, right? So why our relationship with God must be restored? Isn't our relationship with God already as good as it should be? Why is that? Because sin has separated us with God. Am I right? Sin has created a huge wall between us and God. And what Jesus did, he broke the wall. How did he do that? By dying on the cross, by sacrificing his life, by shedding his blood. And with his blood, he washed our sins. With his blood, he restored our peace with God. Basically, he helped us to reconcile with God. And now we're children of God. That is how our peace with God is restored. Okay? We can also see that in Colossians chapter 1, verse 19 to 20. For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace with his with his blood shed on the cross. And what did he do? He made peace with his blood by shedding his blood on the cross, by sacrificing his life and dying on the cross. He helped us to make peace with God. And one word there particularly is to reconcile himself all things. What does reconcile means? It's basically a example. You have a fight with your boss, or you have a fight with your friend, okay, and you no longer talk to him. Your relationship with him broken. You used to be good friends, used to be hanging out, eating, doing everything together. But after that, after something happened, your relationship is broken. So the way of bringing the relationship back, means reconciliation. Reconciliation. And Jesus helps us to reconcile with God. Why? Because, as I said earlier, sin separated us with God, and our relationship with him was broken. And what he did, restored it back by reconciliating. Okay. Now, many people ask this question. Now that Jesus helped me to bring peace with God. Now I have peace with God. Now I have a good relationship with God. Then why God treats me so badly? Why God doesn't give me money? Why God give me trouble, relationship issues, whatever, so much trouble? Why does God bring me that? If I have peace with God, why is that? People ask. Because God uses tough situations to make us more mature. Let me see that again. God uses tough situations to make us more mature, to make us more strong, to train us. He makes us more strong. How do he do that? By giving us tough situations. Just like example, you all familiar with bodybuilding, right? How does bodybuilding work? You take the heavy weight, you carry, and then you train your muscle. And then your muscle gets stronger, your muscle gets bigger, right? But what are you doing to your muscle? You are giving the muscle a hard time. It is difficult for the muscle to do it, right? It's not easy. It's difficult. The muscle will how do you say? The muscle will not be having a good time. It is in a tough time, giving it trouble. But what happens when you keep on doing it? You get stronger. The muscle gets stronger. Okay, the muscle gets bigger. Just like that, God gives us tough situation and trains us so we will be stronger. Why should we be strong? Can't we just be weak? Why should we be strong? Good question, right? Why should we be strong? Is because when we are strong, we can have peace in all situations, in all times. Okay? It doesn't have to be a good situation where I have all the money, I have all the food, I have a good wife, perfect children, then only I have peace. No. When there's a bad situation, if we are strong enough, we will learn to have peace inside of us. Okay? So this will help us in those hard times, and God is preparing us for that. So the peace of God will be with us in all times. Now, as I said earlier, peace of God, right? Next, we're going to look about the peace with ourselves. In Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. see at the first sentence, above all else, above anything, this is the most important thing. What we should do, we should guard our heart. What does it mean? We should keep watch, we should protect, we should control our heart. From what? What should we protect our heart from? Number one, we should be careful with people we surround ourselves with. We should be careful with people we surround ourselves with, because it damages our heart. What do I mean by that? When we mix around people that we shouldn't be mixing, example, people who have a bad influence, example, people who have drinking issues, smoking issues, or whatever, or people who are atheists, or people who basically speak bad things, or is a bad person, what happens is subconsciously we tend to rub off from their character. There's a saying that when there's a 5 genius walking around, the 6th person walking is also going to be a genius. And when there's 5 idiots there, one of the guys is going to be idiot, and the 6th guy is going there, is also going to be idiot. Okay? Because the people we mixed with affect how we are as a person. So we should be guarding our heart and be careful of who we mix. Okay? Second, what we can do to guard our heart is a question we should ask ourselves. Are we feeding our flesh more, or are we feeding our spirit more? Okay? What does it mean to feed our flesh? Basically, entertainment, watching TV, basically all worldly things is feeding our flesh. What is feeding spirit? What is feeding spirit is reading the Bible more, spending more time with God, praying, and listening more to the word of God, reading the Bible. Basically, it is feeding our spirit. What we feed more, we become that, right? So what is inside our heart? If we keep on look at TV or whatever, we go out with friends, play around, what is in our heart will be only that thing, right? But if we keep on read the Bible, it feels like we spend more time with God, we hang out with God, and then, as I said earlier, if you spend time with more people with that, more bad people, you'll take their character. But what happens if we read the Bible more? We tend to rub off. We tend to learn from Jesus. We tend to learn from God. We copy Jesus. And this is not a bad thing. Many people say copy, you're copying. No, copy Jesus is actually a good thing. What we can do is, when we are in a situation, we think, what would Jesus do in the situation? So when we read the Bible more, this is what helps us. We think like how Jesus would do. I'm not saying that we are thinking, when we read more of the Bible, we become Jesus, or we think like Jesus, we become that wise. No. But we learn little things from him, and we try to imply it on our real life. So that is how we feed our spirit. Above all else, guard your heart. Why is it so important? Why is it so important that we guard our heart? Because what is in our heart becomes our thoughts, and what is in our thoughts becomes our words. When you constantly feeding your flesh and doing worldly things, and you keep on consuming materialistic things, what is in your heart, it's all going to be that things only. And your thoughts are also going to be that, and what comes out from your mouth also going to be that. As last week we learned on the wise words, right? So Amen taught us how important words is, and how important words affect a person, right? No? That words are very important, that they affect another person. So we should be guarding our heart, so it'll take care of our words also. Okay? And finally, with peace with others. Matthew chapter 7 verse 12. Therefore, you should treat people in the same way you want people to treat you. This is the law and the prophets. I think this is the most important rule as Christians. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Excuse me. When I say it, it may sound easy, but actually doing it, it's not that easy. Okay? And also in Matthew, in a similar verse, Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 to 39, Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, when with all your mind. This is the first great commandment. And the second is like, it's the second great commandment is, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You should love your neighbor like how you love yourself. So you should treat people like how you want to be treated. Share, love, and treat them with love, and then automatically there will be peace between two people. Okay, so that's what we learned. First, we learned how we get peace from God, and then peace with ourselves, and then now we learned on peace with others. I think it's very important that we have peace in our lives, because it affects our joy, our happiness, our well-being. It all comes into one word, peace. So as I said like before, peace is like a complex things with all things moving around. When something breaks, our peace is broken, but we should take it to Lord and help God, Lord to reconcile it and to restore our peace. Okay, and that's it from me. Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Anyone want to add on anything? Brother Ganga, you want to add on anything? How can peace be restored? How can peace be? A peace with God, is it, or with one another? As my last point is peace with others, right? We should treat people with how we want to be treated. So when we share love and be good to others, example like a simple thing to do, asking them how are you today, or how are you feeling. This also affects, it creates a great impact on the person, and it also can bring peace to another person. Yeah.
Actually, when we, as you mentioned, that when we want to know more about God, read the Bible more, so that we can be closer to God, and that we are closer to God, we understand better to deal with the people. So when you deal with the people, with your kind of love for God, way you think, way you do, people can see your behavior, your kind of life, and no doubt, as you say earlier, to meet with the people, wrong ideas and